Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Headlines for you at 6 o'clock this morning. More support for jobs and businesses as the Chancellor promises to do whatever it takes in today's budget to help people through the coronavirus crisis.
Good morning, that's right, an extension of furlough, more self-employed support, but I'm here in the northeast where people want to know if benefits will be cut, who'll be paying more tax, and is the government serious about investing in the north?
Nicola Sturgeon's to face a Holyrood inquiry today as she comes under mounting pressure to resign over the way she handled the Alex Salmond harassment allegations.
Good morning. They left it late against Wolves, but the unbeaten run continues. Manchester City have 21 consecutive wins in all competitions, just 5 short of Ajax's European record.
Vaccine, 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 vaccine. I'm begging of you, please don't hesitate.
A dose of her own medicine. Dolly Parton receives the coronavirus vaccine she helped to fund.
Good morning. Today, like yesterday, is going to be another day with a lot of low cloud, some mist and some fog. There will be some brightness in parts of the west. We've also got showers coming in across southern areas. I'll have the lot in about 10 minutes.
Good morning, it's Wednesday, it's the 3rd of March. The top story for you this morning is that the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, will deliver his budget later today with a promise to continue to support businesses through what he's describing as the challenging months ahead.
The measures include extending the furlough scheme until the end of September and more support for the self-employed. But he'll also warn that once the coronavirus crisis is over, action will be needed to fix the public finances. Here's our political correspondent, Helen Catt.
So this is the budget.
It'll certainly be a budget like no other. So much has changed beyond recognition since this time last year, even if the Red Book looks the same.
Hi everybody, I'm David, the head chef of the Porterhouse in Annesley.
The pandemic forced David to swap the restaurant kitchen in Nottinghamshire, where he's head chef, for his own, from where he's been teaching families to cook cheaply. He's one of the millions who've been furloughed.
It's been tough. Like I said, without it, people wouldn't be able to, I definitely wouldn't have been able to pay my bills. And then there's potential for losing your house and getting in a lot of trouble. And mentally as well, it would be really, really tough.
In today's budget, the furlough scheme will be extended until the end of September. Grants for the self-employed will be extended too, and 600,000 more people may be eligible to claim them. And it's expected the £20 increase in universal credit will stay for 6 months. That will all add many more billions to the almost 300 billion the government has already spent on the pandemic. And as this Treasury video suggests, it won't stop there. With many entertainment venues set to stay shut until at least May, the budget will allocate £408 million for museums, theatres and galleries, and £300 million to help sport recover. There'll be £25 million for grassroots football and nearly £3 million for a bid to host the 2030 World Cup. There will also be a £150 million fund to help communities take over struggling local pubs. To fund its schemes to keep the economy afloat and pay for the pandemic, the government has borrowed a lot, more than ever outside wartime. Rishi Sunak has promised he will be honest about plans to fix the public finances. The Chancellor's also been considering increasing the tax that companies pay on their profits, corporation tax, and levying a one-off windfall tax on firms like supermarkets, which have done particularly well. For now, the focus is on recovery, but there will be a bill to be paid eventually. We'll find out later how far this budget will go towards telling us how. Helen Catt, BBC News, Westminster.
Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon is preparing to give evidence to a Holyrood inquiry this morning. It's investigating the Scottish Government's mishandling of complaints against her predecessor, Alex Salmond.
Last night, the Scottish Conservatives said they plan to submit a vote of no confidence in the First Minister. Our Scotland correspondent Lorna Gordon has the story.
Nicola Sturgeon is just weeks from a Holyrood election. Her party is riding high in the polls and wants to hold another referendum on independence. But could her government's handling of harassment complaints against her once close ally Alex Salmond threaten to upset those plans? Last week, he gave evidence to the Holyrood Committee looking into the government's actions.
I swear by Almighty God that I'll tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Mr Salmond, convinced Miss Sturgeon broke the rules ministers have to follow.
I've got no doubt that Nicola has broken the ministerial code, but it's not for me to suggest what the consequences should be. It's for the people who are judging that, including this committee.
Now it's the First Minister's turn to appear. Nicola Sturgeon is likely to face questions on what she knew and when about harassment complaints against her predecessor, and whether she and those around her have been telling the truth about the botched investigation into Mr Salmond. Ms Sturgeon has denied all the allegations and has accused Mr Salmond of creating an alternative reality. This, though, is a crisis for the First Minister and the government she leads. While the Holyrood Committee's remit is primarily about failings in government procedures, there is also a second inquiry into whether or not Ms Sturgeon misled Parliament and so broke the ministerial code.
There is now clear corroboration that Nicola Sturgeon has lied to Parliament, and we have lost First Ministers in Scotland for far less. She is accused, and there is a huge amount of evidence now that she has misled Parliament and misled the people of Scotland.
Well, that is naked opportunism from the Scottish Tories. They haven't heard, of course, the First Minister's evidence, and they've decided that she's misled Parliament. They haven't waited for the independent investigation into the ministerial code and decided already that she has breached it. So they aren't interested in listening to the facts.
The nationalist movement's two most prominent figures trading public blows, fighting for their reputations and legacy. Lorna Gordon, BBC News.
The Isle of Man has gone back into lockdown today because of a sharp rise in coronavirus cases after a ferry crew member tested positive for the virus. The circuit breaker restrictions will last for at least 3 weeks, with people required to stay at home, non-essential businesses ordered to close and schools shut to most pupils. The move comes after more than 60 new cases of COVID were recorded in a fortnight.
The organisers of this year's Eurovision Song Contest have said they are planning to make it the most normal event they can. It's due to take place in Rotterdam in May after being postponed last year because of the pandemic. Officials say they expect all contestants to appear live, and coming to the city to perform will be considered essential travel. They've yet to make a decision on whether there'll be an audience in the arena.
Dolly Parton is the latest celebrity to encourage people to get vaccinated by sharing the moment on social media.
I think you will be singing this all day. She got the Moderna jab, which she partly funded and, of course, celebrated how she knows best. Our Los Angeles correspondent, David Willis, has that story.
Well, hey, it's me. I'm finally going to get my vaccine. I'm so excited. I've been waiting a while. I'm old enough to get it, and I'm smart enough to get it.
For the 9 to 5 star, it was to be literally a dose of her own medicine. A shot of the Moderna vaccine, whose development she helped fund by way of a $1 million donation to a research centre in her native Tennessee.
Vaccine, 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 vaccine. I'm begging of you, please don't hesitate. Vaccine, 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 vaccine. 'Cause once you're dead, then that's a bit too late. I know I'm trying to be funny now, but I'm dead serious about the vaccine.
As well as the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, regulators here have also approved the use of one made by Johnson & Johnson, a single-shot vaccine that's easier to handle, and which the President says will advance the timetable for getting things back to normal.
This country will have enough vaccine supply, I'll say it again, for every adult in America by the end of May. By the end of May. That's progress, important progress.
That's 2 months earlier than previously expected. President Biden said priority would be given to teachers in an attempt to get schools reopened as quickly as possible. Despite a steady decline in new cases of the virus, he's urging people to continue wearing masks and social distancing. But that call's been ignored by officials in one of the country's largest states, Texas, who've announced plans to reopen everything next week and lift a mandate on mask wearing.
Here I go. All right.
Dolly Parton got her shot from a doctor she met 8 years ago following a car crash. It was their friendship that led to her decision to donate to vaccine research. Addressing the country's COVID deniers, she said she hoped her actions would inspire anyone who is eligible to get a jab.
Think you got it?
I got it.
Okay. That didn't hurt. Just stung a little bit, but that was from the alcohol pad, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
David Willis, BBC News, Los Angeles.
You've already been singing that all morning, haven't you?
I feel so lucky to have once met Dolly Parton, and honestly, it's going to... I have actually... There's not many pictures of people I have on my wall, but Dolly Parton is there.
Was that for this
It was for this
wasn't it?
actual programme,
Yeah.
yes. Anyway...
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.